Hello, this is Julius from Basic Financials. The video today I'm going to do is about the domestic reverse charge in the construction industry for VAT. This is something that was originally going to come in, I think it was back in October 2019, but it got delayed then. And then it was going to come in March 2020, but then COVID cropped up, so everyone agreed that it should be a good idea to delay it. So it's now coming in from the 1st of March 2021. Now, what this domestic reverse charge for VAT is, it's to do with the VAT in the construction industry. That's the main thing. So it only applies to businesses where one supplies from one business to another business, and where both businesses are VAT registered, and also the work that's being carried out is reported under the construction industry scheme. So it's where you might have had to have verified yourself or verified your customer as within the construction industry and found out whether to pay them gross or 20% tax deducted or 30% tax deducted. So that's important. It only applies business to business where both businesses are registered for VAT, and also only applies if it's standard rated VAT and if it's reduced rate VAT. So at the moment 20% or 5%. Possibly zero as well. I think that's probably a reduced rate. So maybe not zero. I'm not sure about that. Might be worth checking that. Now, the rules are quite detailed, and there are lots of sort of circumstances that you might think, oh, what happens when this happens, or what happens on the transition period between. Cash accounting doesn't apply. And also, if you're in the flat rate scheme, you can't use. Well, basically, you've got a reverse charge for any applicable sales and purchases. You can't do that within the cash accounting or within the flat rate scheme. So that's an introduction. Now, what it actually means is, for example, where say you're a subcontractor, you're registered for VAT, and normally you would have charged the contractor you're working for, you would have charged them, say, 10,000 plus 2,000 VAT for your work, and then the contractor would have paid you £12,000, and you would have declared the £2,000 on your VAT return as a output VAT in box 1, and your £10,000 in box 6 in your value of sales. Thinking of it from the other point of view, the contractor, they would have paid you the £12,000, declared £10,000 in their box 7 input value, and reclaimed the £2,000 VAT paid in their box 4. What's going to happen now is, with this reverse charge, you as the subcontractor, instead of charging £12,000, £10,000 plus 2,000 VAT, you're going to charge £10,000. You'll put on the invoice that this supply is subject to the reverse charge, and then you need to say what rate of tax. Probably the best thing to say is subject to, say, 20%, and the VAT is 2,000. But you say on the invoice, the customer is responsible for paying the VAT to HMRC. So what will happen is your invoice will be for £10,000. You do say about the £2,000 VAT, but the contractor will only pay you £10,000. And then what they do, when they pay you that £10,000, they will include that in their box 7 VAT input value as usual. They will then, as well as putting the £2,000 in their box 4 reclaiming the VAT, they will then also put the £2,000 in the box 1. So effectively, they're paying VAT to HMRC and claiming it back. you might think, well, how are they getting their £2,000 back from HMRC? Well, they won't, because they aren't paying you the £2,000 in the first place. So on the previous system, their cost would have been £10,000 because they'd have paid £12,000 to you and claimed back £2,000 from the VAT man. Now they're paying £10,000 to you, and that's it, because they showed £2,000 payable and £2,000 reclaimable. Previously you would have received £12,000 from the contractor and paid £2,000 to the VAT man, so you'd have had £10,000. You're still getting £10,000, and you don't need to put anything you don't need to pay anything to the VAT man. You would still put the £10,000 in your box 6 value of sales when you get the money in, but you don't put anything in box 1. So that's the difference. Now you might think, what's the point of all of that? The reason for it, which might help to understand what's going on, is that it's called missing trader fraud, is one of the reasons anyway, the main reason. And that's where maybe subcontractors or contractors have set themselves up, registered for VAT, made a supply, charged VAT, and then disappeared without paying the VAT to the VAT man. So they've collected £12,000 for the contractor. The contractor has claimed back the £2,000 of the VAT man, but the subcontractor hasn't paid the £2,000 to the VAT man. So, and because they've disappeared, so the VAT man is down by £2,000. Now this way ensures that, because there's basically no VAT being paid or claimed back, or it is, but it's at the same time and by the same person, then that's going to stop HMRC from losing out in those circumstances. So that's the reason for it. I think that's probably enough to be going on with. So the main thing is just to be aware of it, and oh yeah, I suppose the other thing is make sure your software is able to do it. If you use, for example, Sage, I think they've introduced an update so that they have new tax codes. They've got a 20, I think it's T21 is going to be their their standard rated supplies under this system, under the domestic reverse charge, and T26 I think is going to be their reduced rate. So actually I've got a feeling zero rate won't apply to these situations. Actually, probably not, because there's no VAT going to and fro anyway. So so it's just standard rated and reduced rated, so 20% and 5% as the things stand at the moment. So make sure your software can cope with it. If you haven't had an update from Sage, or you need to do your own software, I mean, you can produce your own methods of doing it. So you can, in Sage even, you can create your own tax codes, but you just need to make sure you're giving it the right criteria so that it knows that it needs to go into box 6, for example, if it's your sale, but not add anything to box 1. And on the other side, if you're buying, then it needs to know that not only does it need to go into box 4 and box 7, it also needs to go into box 1. So it's you need to be careful what you're doing with it. But I hope that helps. 1st of March 2021, that's when it comes in. Yeah, good luck. And there is lots of guidance out there to help. So have a look at HMRC's website, and that will give you all the extra detail that you need. I'll see you again for another video soon. If you like and subscribe as usual, please. Thanks for listening.